Hello friends, this is Dr. Rahul Kamath once again here with my channel Arsa Medica. Today we are going to be discussing a medical astrology case study of adult onset diabetes mellitus. Okay, so before we dive into the subject matter for today's presentation, I am showing you an important disclaimer. Basically, I am a medical doctor, medical allopathic doctor who fully subscribes to the utility and efficacy of modern medicine. Having said that, I do believe that the Vedas and the Vedangas, such as Jyotish and Ayurveda, have a lot to contribute to us in terms of our widened understanding of health and disease. Uh, the holy grail will be to have a sort of a integrative medicine approach, as even the government of India is trying to do under the Ayush initiatives. Okay, so with this brief disclaimer, let us proceed to this case. Now, typically, uh, I have been discussing some serious cases. The last two cases uh, were a child who did not survive beyond his first month of life. The case before that was a case of tuberculosis and chest disease. Now, let us look at a very common occurrence in society today. Most of us will know people, either in relatives or in family and friends, who have diabetes. Okay, and that too, diabetes which is controlled. Somebody leads a rather hectic, stressful life, and typically in the 50s or in the 40s, suddenly discovers that he or she has impaired glucose tolerance or diabetes, and then basically the doctor prescribes to take a medicine, and then the diabetes is under control, right? So I want to discuss such a common case today, and because it is more relatable, and you will also see that in this particular case in front of you is a female. As you can see the slide, she was born in Ratnagiri 1955. Those of you who wish can certainly have the horoscope cast using whatever softwares you use. I use Parashar's Light, and the screens in this presentation are basically from Parashar Light. Now, this particular female, she had gone on a routine checkup at the age of 43, and she discovered that she had diabetes. Her blood sugar was about 400. She had been having some symptoms of itching and some urinary tract infection and all, but she attributed that to perimenopausal symptoms. Since then, she has been taking anti-diabetic medicine, and she is also a homeopath herself. So she is taking some flowers, bark remedies, and all that. This is what I have been told is non-progressive. Today, the patient is about 65 years of age, having a good life, eating everything, not having any control, taking the diabetes medication. Now let us look at this case, and let us look at how the disease happened in this case. It is almost like a lifestyle disease, diabetes mellitus, and how this particular patient was protected in a way from serious complications also by virtue of certain planetary placements, and at the same time how this disease came into being and how it can be justified. Okay, so with this brief background, let me jump into the details of this case. Now, again, uh, before we go into the intricacies of the Kundali, we have to know what are we looking for. We have to know that this is the case of diabetes mellitus. It's clearly stated. We are not looking for anything else. A human being and his or her health is a vast ocean of explored and unexplored possibilities. We are not looking here and there. We are looking specifically for diabetes mellitus. So what does that involve? So first of all, it's a chronic disease. Okay, so we have to understand that it's a chronic disease. So there would have to be some involvement of some kind, perhaps from Saturn. It is also at one level um, something to do with the digestive system, and we are going to be discussing the next slide. So wait for my slide. The slide will be in much more detail. It has to do something to do with the digestive fire. If we were to look at it from the Ayurvedic perspective, it has to do with uh, naturally with insulin and pancreas. Okay, we are looking at it from that perspective also. It has to do with fat metabolism, Okay, so with this brief background, let me now show you the slide and then we will discuss in detail. Okay, it's important to understand this the karakas of health and disease in this case, and I am trying to correlate here some connections and correlations between allopathy and Ayurveda. Now, diabetes, as I said, it's a chronic disease and it's gradual onset. Okay, usually, unless it is juvenile diabetes mellitus, in which there is, it's already there with severe insulin deficiency. Now, here, the immune system would be involved for sure. So, we have to look at the sun and the ascendant. Um, Sun also, particularly because um, sun is concerned with, with the celiac plexus, which is the area just below the rib cage and just above the it's the epigastric area where there is the location of the pancreas also. Now, before we get there, let us understand what diabetes is called in Sanskrit or in Prakrit or Marathi or Hindi. It's called Madhumeha. It's important sometimes to understand the original Sanskrit terminology to get to the source of what we are looking at, particularly in Jyotish. Now, Madhumeha is diabetes, but before Madhumeha comes Prameha. So, if you have impaired glucose tolerance, that means if you're fasting, blood sugar is going out of control, it is not being restrained within, say, 100, 120, whatever it is, then we can call it impaired glucose tolerance. What is called Prameha in Ayurveda. Now, why does Prameha happen? Prameha happens because there is the enzyme insulin or the hormone insulin, which is responsible for absorption of glucose in the by the liver or glucose by the body, that is affected. There is a insulin resistance in the fat cells. Okay, so because of deposition of fats and extra deposition and hardening of fatty tissue, there is a insulin resistance, to put it very simply. Now, insulin here is basically secreted by the beta cells of the pancreas. Okay, so pancreas as an endocrine organ comes under the adhipatya of Venus. So we have Venus here. The fat part is Jupiter. So there has to be something to do with Jupiter because Jupiter is also concerned with the liver. And Jupiter, remember, is Jiva as far as Jyotish is concerned. Now, obviously the organs involved are the pancreas. Now, pancreas, if you try to locate it in the D3 chart, as we will do later, is basically, you can say, Leo Virgo, junction of Leo Virgo. So where Leo ends and Virgo begins. So that is the base of the chest or the diaphragm where the heart ends, and the Virgo is the epigastric area. The stomach part, the Prithvi Tattva. Virgo is the Prithvi Tattva sign, so that is the stomach area. Also where just behind it is the pancreas, in the anatomy of the upper part of the gastrointestinal tract. And pancreas is concerned with the Agni Tattva. Okay, so you have Agni Tattva there, you have the small intestines also we are looking at because digestion happens in the small intestines. Diabetes is certainly related to metabolic disturbance. If entire digestion, absorption, assimilation happened perfectly with the stomach, intestines, the entire absorptive mechanism, the liver, all working in perfect harmony, there wouldn't be any diabetes, right? So we are looking at affection of the pancreas, we are looking at the Agni Tattva here, we are looking at Vayu Tattva in the intestine, we are looking at the liver, which is basically again governed by mostly the sign Virgo, which is again the Prithvi Tattva. So that is the Panchamahabhut perspective. And then certainly we are looking at the sun here in terms of the grahas, Guru, Jupiter, Venus I already spoke to you, and then there has to be some affliction of the Rahu Ketu axis. We'll look at that and how that also contributes to the whole disturbance. There is always some kind of a nuisance value, and there are other planets which also become part of this. So you have Mercury and Mars also who become sort of accomplices uh, in this disease. Remember, no disease is produced just by one or two grahas. It is always a combination of grahas. One primary, maybe another secondary, a tertiary, and then there are supporting ancillary associated grahas which also hit out at the opportune time. Okay, for example, Mercury. So with this background, now let us jump into the analysis. We are going to first naturally look at the D1, the Janma Kundali, and we will see as much as we can in this and then try to correlate further. Okay. Now in front of you here, one Kundali per slide. The big one here is the D1. Now let's analyze this very quickly, step by step though. This is the mean lagna. Okay, so with mean lagna you have basically the Badhakesh, which is the Saptamesh. So you have the Badhakesh here, which is Buddha, and we will look at Buddha separately. Then you have here the Yogakarak planet for this mean lagna is again Guru, because it is Lagnesh and Dashamesh here. Okay, so it is Kendra Konadipati, so it is Guru here. So therefore the Jiva here, and then you have the mean lagna. So let's look at the ascendant nakshatra. The ascendant point is 1 degree 10 minutes of in mean, which is Purva Bhadrapada. Now Purva Bhadrapada is a Guru's nakshatra. So you have the ascendant Bhavamadhya, Lagna Bhavamadhya as a Guru. And the Bhavamadhya will play an important role in this analysis, as we will see further. Okay, now you have Lagnesh, which is Guru, or Jupiter, which is exalted actually in the 5th house. Okay, Jupiter is in Cancer in the 5th house, exalted, but it is in nakshatra Pushya. Pushya is a Saturn's nakshatra. Okay, so this is a point to be noted here. You have a Jupiterian influence in this chart. From all practical perspective, this is a strong lagna, because the Lagnesh is exalted, and Lagnesh is in basically in a Kona in the 5th house, and it is along with planets which it is naturally friendly. So it is in close connection with Mars here. It is also compatible with Sun. So this is one point to be noted, but we will come to this a little later. There are many layers to this. Okay, so this is the lagna considerations here. Now let us hone down into the trinity of Sun, Moon and Ascendant. So Ascendant we have looked at. Okay, let's look at the Sun. The Sun here is also the Shashtesh. So in the trick analysis we will look at the Sun again, but the Sun here is the 6th Lord. It is in the 5th house in the nakshatra Punarvasu. First 1 degree 5 minutes of Cancer in the nakshatra Punarvasu. Now Sun is in a watery sign. That's one point to note here. Jupiter also is in a watery sign also. So although Jupiter is exalted, it is in a watery sign, right? Sun also is in a watery sign. Sun is in the nakshatra of Jupiter. Okay, so and Jupiter is well supported, it's exalted. Okay, and it is Lagnesh. So in a sense, the 5th Lord seems to be in reasonably good company. There is no cause of concern. Now, at first notice, now the Bhava Madhya, interesting to note, the Bhava Madhya for the 6th Lord, for the 6th house, is 1 degree 10 minutes of Magha, which is a Ketu Nakshatra, but we will come to that a little later. Let's first focus our attention back to the Holy Trinity, as it were. So you have the Ascendant, you have the Sun, you have the Moon. Now the Moon here is Panchamesh. Moon also stands for mind. Moon stands for the liquid element, the water element in the body in terms of the Panchamahabhutas. Now Moon here is in Mruga Nakshatra. Okay, in Gemini. Okay, so it is in the fourth pada of Mruga Nakshatra in Gemini here, and Lord of Mruga Nakshatra is Mars, and Mars you find here is in Saturn's Nakshatra in the fifth house. Mars is debilitated. Okay, Mars is debilitated in the fifth house. Mars also happens to be the Marakesh. It is the Dvitiyesh. It is the Lord of the second house, and it is debilitated in a nakshatra of Saturn. Now, Moon. So, in a sense, Moon is the dispositor of the Moon is debilitated, and in the nakshatra of a malefic. The dispositor of the Moon being a malefic itself, the Maraka planet, Marakesh, Mars, is in the nakshatra Pushya, which is of Saturn, another malefic, which is also happens to be the lord of the the 12th house, the Vyayesh. Correct. So Moon is not exactly in as good a company, say, as Sun. Now another point to note here is Moon is also in close proximity with Ketu. Although they will not be in the same Navamaush clearly, but they are close by. So Ketu is in the nakshatra of Mars. Moon Ketu together in the same house is not exactly very good. Okay, and so this is one point to be noted here. Okay, and so having seen the Moon part right now, so we have seen the Trinity, Ascendant, Sun, and Moon. Now let's focus our analysis to the Triksthanas, to the other planets, and let us analyze what is happening here really. Now, typically, if you notice here, the Trik lords here, the lord of the sixth house is Sun. Sun, I already spoke to you. Sun is in Punarvasu in fifth house. Reason in good company, generally speaking. Although the Moon is 12th from the Sun. Okay, so that is something which is so between the two, they don't have a mutually very comfortable positioning. Now, Lord of the 8th house, okay, is Venus. Okay, you see Venus in Ardra. So there is something happening there. Venus, Lord of the 8th house, Lord of Libra, is in Ardra. Now, the 6th house was Agni Tattva. Remember, I also spoke about pancreas. I also spoke about the area just in the epigastric area where there is the stomach, there is the pancreas, there is also the celiac plexus of nerves, all under the Adhipatya of Leo Virgo junction. That is the Agni Tattva. So there is the fire element you see in the 6th house here. The 8th house here is Libra. Libra is the airy element, the Vayu Tattva. The Lord of Libra is Venus. Venus is in Ardra. Okay. So which is again a Rahu Nakshatra. And you see that Rahu is the dispositor of, the Nakshatra dispositor of Venus. Rahu is in the 10th house in Mool Nakshatra, in Ketu's Nakshatra. So you have here the Rahu Ketu axis in one way affecting the 8th house in an indirect way. Also, from Bhavat Bhavam perspective, the third lord is the third house Rashi is Vrishab. So Venus again therefore is also Ashtamesh from the Bhavat Bhavam perspective, and you will find that Vrishab is a Dagda Rashi for this chart. We'll see that data a little later, but it's also Dagda Rashi. So Venus is certainly in a sense affected. Now one more point to note, Saturn is in the 8th house. Saturn here is Vyayesh or 12th lord in the 8th house. So this has something to do with disease for sure, but we will look at it a little deeper. Now Saturn on the face of it is exalted. It is in Libra exalted. But look at the nakshatra. It is in Vishakha nakshatra. So Saturn in Vishakha is again Saturn in Guru's nakshatra, and just to refresh your memory, Jupiter is in Pushya nakshatra. Guru is in Shani's nakshatra. So you have a nakshatra parivartan yoga between Guru and Shani here. Okay, this is the important point, and Saturn is retrograde. So, uh, Lagnesh, Lagnesh and Vyayesh, there is a Nakshatra Parivartan Yog. Lagnesh well positioned. Vyayesh also, I wouldn't say very badly positioned. Also, it is, although it is in the 8th house, in one way because it's exalted, but then it will certainly contribute to disease. Okay. Now you have here Neptune sitting quietly in the 8th house, 2 degrees 14 minutes in Chitra. Okay. Now Neptune is, remember, is the original Rigvedic deity, originally a Asura. Before the Amrut Manthan, Neptune was a Asura. Okay. Then after the Amrut Manthan, Indra took over the lordship of the, Neptune was the overlord of the Devas and Asuras together. If you go to mythology, and then after the Amrut Manthan and after Mohini basically favored the Devas over the Asuras, and then when Devas became powerful, then Indra took over. So till then, so Neptune is very powerful, the point to note, and Neptune is Varun. And you find Neptune here in Chitra, which is nakshatra of Mars. Mars again is a Marakesh Dvitiyesh here. Mars is in Saturn's nakshatra. Now this is very important. Mars is in Saturn's nakshatra, and Mars has a direct fourth aspect on the 8th house. From the Mars debilitated in Saturn's nakshatra. I already spoke to you. Marakesh, and with the fourth aspect on Saturn in the 8th house. Okay, so this is a very interesting thing to note. Correct. Then again, coming to the 12th lord is Saturn. We already discussed Saturn enormously, and you will find that Saturn will have its 10th aspect also on the fifth house on Mars. So you have Jupiter, Saturn, Nakshatra Parivartan Yog. You have Saturn directly aspecting Jupiter, which is the Lagnesh, which is the Yogakarak planet. So Saturn is certainly playing a role here, and you have Mars further vitiating the situation by having a fourth aspect on Saturn. Okay, this is the D1 chart. Now, if you look at the boundary of this chart, there are numbers in the outer perimeter, as it were. Now, I have also basically done a Ashtak Varga mapping quickly, because although Ashtak Varga is used for transit analysis better, but still it indicates how that particular house was programmed at birth with respect to the influences, the bindus and the rekhas aspect of Ashtak Varga from all the different planets. So if you notice here, firstly the Lagnesh. So the Lagna is reasonably strong. 28 points is good. I'm looking at the Samudaya Ashtak Varga and a quick analysis of that. I'm not going to go into deep depth in this. Look at the 6th house. You have 34 points, 34 marks here, 34 points. So 34 points it's a strong 6th house, which means that this is not a case where you have a person having enormous number of diseases and propensity to diseases. It's a strong house. Again, as I said, the Shashtesh also is reasonably strong in the 5th house. So good immunity. The 8th house has 26, so it's not all that well placed. So therefore you have the influence of Venus and Saturn there. So you see Venus and Saturn are playing a role there, as I have already explained. Okay, so you have otherwise. So this is the chart, and if you notice here, the Dvitiya, the 2nd house is 41. So it's a very strong house. Okay, in a sense. So the Marakesh part of the 2nd house also is obviously therefore enhanced. So you have Mars, which is therefore although debilitated but it is malefic. Okay, and we will see that when we go into the refined chart, and when we look at the D9, we will be able to appreciate more aspects of this. Okay, so with this now, I think enough said. We will go to the D9, and then we will look at the Dreshtkaunt chart also. Now, in front of you here is therefore now D9 chart, the Namaus chart juxtaposed with the birth chart on the side. Okay. Now if you look at the D9 chart, a couple of points to be quickly noted here. The Lagna in D1 was again watery Lagna. We had mean there. Here this is again you have Karka here. So in a sense the watery element aspect is there. You have here Venus, for example, exalted in the 9th house, in Pisces exalted, in Revati Nakshatra. This is the Nakshatra in the D9. Okay, so this Nakshatra is not the same as the D1 Nakshatra. This is the longitudinal analysis of Nakshatras in D9. So you have Venus exalted here. So when you say Venus exalted, it also indicates that it's powerful. If it has to be malefic, if it is a third house lord in D1, it is therefore in a sense more malefic. Now, if you look at the fifth house here, you have Moon, which is in the Abhukta Mula part. It is in the Jeshta Mula Gandanta, 28 degrees 59 minutes of Jeshta in Scorpio. Certainly not good, very sharp, very malefic in a sense. Okay, and you have, of course, not immediately, but you have in the same house, in the watery influence, you have Jupiter there in Anuradha, which is in Saturn's nakshatra. So Jupiter is in Saturn's nakshatra again in D9. You have Saturn, which is in Ashwini in Ketu's nakshatra. So you see that Saturn here has a little bit of the Rahu Ketu axis affliction, which is not evident in D1. You see Moon, which was already, I told you, it was a bit uneasy, not as well placed as Sun or not as well positioned as Sun. Here you can see the malady. It is in a Mercury nakshatra, but in Gandanta, very disturbed. It is also being the water element with Jupiter. It shows fluid accumulation of tendencies of those kinds of tendencies here. You have here Mars, which is the Marrakesh from D1, and as I said, it's quite a powerful planet in that context. It is in Rahu's nakshatra. It is in Swati in the 4th house. Okay, so that doesn't augur well. Saturn, as I said, is in Ashwini in 10th house. In Mesh, the house positions don't matter so much in D9. We are looking at the planetary sharpness and influence. But you have Mars and Saturn opposition, and each one of them is mutually aspecting through the 7th aspect. So that reinforces the Mars-Saturn connection in D1 also. In this case, you find that Mars and Saturn are both really looking at each other. Okay. Ketu again is in Jupiter's nakshatra, and the Jupiter is in Saturn's nakshatra. Saturn is in Ketu's nakshatra. So you see the connection here. The nakshatra dispositor of Ketu is Jupiter, which is in Saturn's nakshatra, which is again connected with Ketu. So you have Jupiter, and then you had the Jupiter-Saturn nakshatra parivartan in D1, which you may recollect. But in this case, they are awkwardly placed. In a sense, Shadashtak Yog between Jupiter and Saturn now doesn't augur well, because it is Lagnesh and Vyayesh of the D1. Okay. What else? Rahu is in Sun's nakshatra Kritika. Sun is in Saturn's nakshatra Pushya. Okay, so all in all, and very important one more aspect here, Mercury is in Shravan nakshatra in Makar Rashi, and Moon is in Mercury's nakshatra at the Abhukta Mula, at the Jeshta Mula Gandanta position. So therefore, Moon, Mercury are going to play a very important role. What does Mercury mean here? Mercury means also something to do with the nerve plexuses. Remember, even organs like pancreas are heavily innervated. They have nerves. There is a need of nervous support in that sense. So you have the celiac plexus nerves, which are there, just in the epigastric region. So the if there is a derangement of the pancreas, if there is a derangement of digestion, the causative mechanisms are also neurological partly. Okay, so you see the Mercury connection here. Um, Moon is the water element again. Okay, so the Moon Mercury thing indicates the insulin resistance, is my analysis. Okay, so with this now, since we have now understood the planetary influences fairly well, next job is try to localize. How would this have started? And see, here we are dealing with a sort of a silent, non-localized disease, diabetes. If you are dealing with something like, say, um, um, lung tumor, you know that the tumor originated in the lung, and it's perhaps possible to localize it. But when you're dealing with diabetes, where does diabetes really originate? It originates somewhere in the metabolic system of the body, right? Uh, Although insulin is produced by the pancreas, we can't say that diabetes originates in the pancreas. So localization is going to be a bit of a challenge, and we are going to use the D3 chart with Reshkaunsh for that purpose. Now the next slide here in front of you is the D3 Reshkaunsh chart juxtaposed with the birth chart on the side, because it's always useful to understand what's happening. Now, quick analysis here. Again, you have it is Vargottam. So Lagna is Vargottam here. You have mean Lagna in birth chart in Lagna Kundali as well as in D3. Okay, now the ascendant Bhav Madhya is Uttara Bhadrapada here, which is a Shani Nakshatra. So the Saturn influence is not going away. Correct? It's Saturn, Jupiter, Saturn, Jupiter. Okay. Now, this is very interesting because the 22nd Dreshkaunsh, which is the Ashtamesh in the D3 chart, is Venus. Okay, and Venus is in, so Ashtamesh in the Ashtam Sthan in D3. And as we said, Venus was clearly the Ashtamesh. Now here, if you notice, Venus is in Libra and it is in the nakshatra Vishaka, which is a Jupiterian nakshatra. Now, Libra, now here we start to localize. Libra basically is traditionally the part of the abdomen from the umbilicus below until the waist or just above the waist area. Okay, so this is the area above the umbilicus and above the below the umbilicus, surrounding the umbilicus, below the stomach region and up to the pelvic region, the area in between. It's called the basti. It has been described in Sanskrit as basti. So anatomically, what does it include? It includes basically the small intestine mainly, and which is the nakshatra which is fully encased in Libra. The nakshatra fully encased in Libra is Swati, and Swati, the nakshatra devata, if you remember, is Vayu, and nakshatra Swami is Rahu. So basically this is a Vayu Tattva, as you can see here. So in the Panchamahabhuta part, this is Libra, this is a Vayu Tattva sign, and this is a Chara Rashi again. So things are changing constantly. You have Mercury again there in Swati, which is in Rahu's nakshatra. So you see that there is the nerves which are affected because of this distension. Small intestines, what do the intestines contain? Basically, these are tubes which have a potential space in between. So distension can happen. So you have Mercury and Neptune there in Swati. You have Venus there in Vishakha, and so there is something not quite well with the digestive system in the Basti area. Digestion is not happening properly. So this is one thing we can certainly analyze. Now, if you look at the other plot, so if you look at Jupiter now, which was one of the actors in our whole drama, Jupiter is in Anuradha, which is in Saturn's nakshatra. Jupiter Mars are friends, but Mars is in Vishakha, again Jupiter's nakshatra. Jupiter is in Anuradha, Saturn's nakshatra. So you see the link to Saturn there. Now Saturn here is, where is it placed? Saturn is placed in the another Vayu Tattva, Saturn basically, uh, it promotes Vayu Tattva, and it is in Gemini, Vayu Tattva. So basically, Saturn is in Mercury's nakshatra Mruga, and Moon and Ketu are very very close by. Moon and Ketu are both in Ardra. Okay, in Rahu's nakshatra. Rahu is in Mula. So again, you see the Moon is affected. The Vayu Tattva somewhere, something to do with the metabolism. Um, so the metabolism is affected. The excessive Vayu Tattva will dim the Agni Tattva. So if you have a fire running, if you have uh, a nice bonfire happening, and if there is too much wind, what happens to the fire? It will go away. Same happens with the water element. If there is too much water element coming in, it will douse the fire. So fire here is the Jatharagni. We speak of the Jatharagni in Ayurveda. Ayurveda is a Vedanga just like Jyotish, and if you want to understand health and disease, we have to go to Ayurvedic constructs from Jyotish and then build it and correlate it with allopathic modern understanding. So here you find that there is a water element and the air element which is along with Saturn there in Gemini. So all that is not very conducive. And Sun, remember Sun, the fire element, is in which sign? Cancer. The dispositor of which is Moon, which is in affected in the Rahu Ketu axis. So it's a whole it's a disturbance of the Panchamahabhutas in the body in this respect, and particularly you find here that the fire element is affected. You find here that um, this is how the disease would have started. So I think this should suffice. Now, just one quick thing, which I had left out in the earlier D9 analysis. So if you look at the 64th Navaus, so there is a concept of the 64th Navaus, which is the lord of the fourth house from where the moon is located. So that is Shani. So Saturn is the 64th Navaus, so it plays a role in the disease in terms of medical astrology, traditionally speaking. So we see Saturn everywhere, and then you see in the D3 the 22nd Dreshkaunsh is again Venus. Okay, and we know very well that Shanivat Rahu and Kujavat Ketu. So Rahu in this case has been an accomplice of Saturn in a way of producing disease, or Vyaya, Lord of the 12th. Okay, now I will kind of corroborate this further with the next slide. We spoke a lot of all these Panchamahabhutas. Now if you see this slide, there is an elemental based on the grahas and the exact detailed degrees of the grahas. There is an astrological analysis of the Panchamahabhutas. So you have the four bhutas here: the Agni Tattva, Prithvi Tattva, Vayu Tattva, Jala Tattva, and then there is the Akash Tattva, which we do not see here. In any case, the Akash Tattva, you notice, is basically Guru. So Guru has already played a role in terms of being Lagnesh and the entire analysis. Now if you notice here, the fire element is very low. The fire and the earth element is poor. What does that indicate? What does it indicate to us from the Jyotish perspective, from the medical astrological perspective? Fire element means what? We have the digestive fire which is poor. That means the digestive part is not happening properly, which would mean the gastric juices, and what controls what provides energy to the digestive fire in the stomach? It is the celiac plexus. Okay, now the celiac plexus is governed by the sun. So you have the fire element, which is the celiac plexus, which is not functioning properly. Because it is a nervous plexus, it is also under the influence of Mercury. So you have the Mercury affliction, which we already have spoken about. Correct? Now, just see to the right. You have air and water element which are in abundance. Correct? I am going back to the D3 slide. Look at the air. Look at Gemini. Look at Libra. And we have discussed the afflictions already in detail. Okay, so you have um, the the Vayu Trikon, as it were, 3, 7 and 11. 3, 7 and 11, all three are affected because you have Lord of Aquarius, Saturn in Gemini, in which is again a Vayu Tattva, and you have, so we have already discussed that, right? So you see the affliction here of the Vayu Tattva, you see the affliction of the Jala Tattva here again. You have basically Jupiter and Mars are both in Sarpadrekkana. They are in Scorpio, so it is a Sarpadrekkana. So they are again causative of disease. You have Sun, which is in Cancer, which has been kind of rendered without energy and without fire because of being in a watery sign. And you have the Lagnesh, which is, or which you have the Lagna, which is mean again, which is again a watery sign. So you see clearly from this corroborates the previous slides. You have air and water element in abundance. You have fire, which has been doused, as it were, the digestive fire, the pancreatic fire. The earth element also is in trouble. Earth here would be liver. Liver is not functioning well, clearly, because if liver was functioning well, then uh, fat deposition wouldn't happen, or the fat, the insulin intolerance, because the insulin receptor resistance in the fat cells wouldn't happen. Now, just go upwards. There is a Mrityu Bhaga data above. Mercury is in Gemini is very close to Mrityu Bhaga. So, what does Mrityu Bhaga point mean? Mrityu Bhaga point is a point at which, at the exact point at which that the planet becomes malefic from the health perspective. So, you have Mercury here, which is, as I said, Badhakesh, but which is really also at the Mrityu Bhaga point. So you will have Mercury creating trouble. As this person ages further, you will find Mercury and Saturn really creating a lot of chronic illness type of picture in this chart. Now, a quick look at the planetary strengths. So if you notice, all the planets are reasonably good in terms of planetary strengths, but of course, if in the Varga Vimshopaka, if we had more red scores, as it were, you see the red scores are quite less. The green scores are, which are high scores, the black scores are acceptable, the red scores are low scores. Because this particular patient has got a fairly good planetary strength, you find that this has not gone out of control. Otherwise, this patient would have developed severe diabetes related complications. But as I said, starting from the ascendant itself and the Lagnesh, there has been a certain protective influence as well. Now, I already spoke of, I have discussed that, Dagda Rashi would be here, Vrushab as well as Siha, 64 Navaush is Aquarius, so Lord is Saturn, 22nd Dreshkaunsh from the ascendant is Libra, again Venus, and Sarpadreshkaunsh is Mars and Jupiter, right? So we've already gone over this. Now I am at the last slide, which is, we are going to look at this person's disease manifestation and in what way the dashas contributed, or what do the dashas show us, and what they show us is that corroborative of all that we have been discussing for the last 40 minutes. Okay, so in front of you, you see a slide. On the top row, or the top half is the Vimshuttari Dasha, and the bottom half is the Yogini. And on the left side is at the age of 43 when this disease was discovered, and the right side is at the present time. Okay, so if you look at now in the left side, now just for those of you who certainly know, but Yogini is a dasha system which is 36 years, and so therefore in a usual lifetime of a person who lives up to 80 years, you will find 3 Yoginis would have run, and Vimshuttari is of course a 120-year dasha, and you will often find close correlate between Vimshuttari and Yogini, as we will discover here. Now in 98-99, this patient was 43 years of age, at which time the diabetes was innocuously discovered. So if you take even the second from the top, Saturn, Venus, Jupiter, okay, you see that Saturn, Venus, Jupiter are all very important planets here. Both the benefics are involved in this. Again, you see Saturn, Venus, Saturn after Saturn, Venus, Jupiter. You have Saturn, Venus, Mercury. So in Saturn, Venus, okay, so Saturn being 12th Lord, Venus being 8th Lord from Bhavat Bhavam perspective, okay, as well as Dagda Rashi and all that, you see this thing running out in the Vishuttari. Now, if you go to the Yogini below, at the same age 43, you have Mars, Mercury, you have Mars, Saturn, Mars, Venus. So you have Brahmari, Bhadrika, you know, Brahmari, Ulka, that kind of thing running, and Brahmari, Siddha. So these are the Yogini dashas. So again, malefic dasha. So the Mars dasha is a malefic. See, both the dashas are malefic dashas. The dasha, the Vishuttari at 43 years was of the 12th Lord and malefic Saturn. The Yogini at the age of 43 was of Marrakesh again. Okay, so you have these running. So no wonder that this perhaps during the Mars Saturn Yogini, this was discovered because there is this mutual aspect between Mars and Saturn, as we have already discussed. Now let's look at the present time. This patient is, I have been told, quite stable, has been taking medicines. But what does the present time hold? Currently, till 2022, in Vishuttari, the Mercury Dasha is going on. Okay, and so Mercury, Jupiter, Mercury, Saturn. So during Mercury, Saturn, as the last part of the Mercury Antardasha of Saturn, after 22nd of August 2020 till 2022, that 2 years roughly, some chronic illness is likely to happen in terms of Mercury and Saturn here. So I would say something to do with breathing, perhaps something to do with nervous coordination, so that has to be looked at. Okay, and and then if you see Yogini below at the present time, you have the Rahu moon which is running. Okay, so again Rahu is the Sankat Yogini as they call it. Moon is the Pingala. Okay, so basically those yoginis are running here, and again that doesn't augur quite well. That and kind of it, the karmic angle is always there. Some karmic exacerbations could happen. Okay, so broadly at this time the patient is stable. I wish that this patient has a very successful, healthy life, and that the diabetes remains under control. Okay, thank you so much for listening. In this presentation, I have tried to correlate some more core Ayurvedic concepts and tried to apply them to a condition which is commonplace in society. Okay, so thank you so much, and thank you for your time and interest. Please like, subscribe, and share. धन्यवाद.